Now, before anyone gets their rosary beads in a twist, let's get one thing straight. I'm talking about unnecessary trauma. Because, let's be real, life is a contact sport. We're all going to get knocked down. We're all going to face illnesses, injuries, heartbreak, and the general indignities of carbon atoms hurtling through space. And whether you spend Sundays singing hymns or sleeping in, you're going to suffer. That's just being human. It's part of the package deal. My point today, however, is that some packages come with extra, self-inflicted spiritual baggage that makes the ride a whole lot bumpier. Let me give you a little peek behind the curtain of my own glorious fleshly existence. January, folks. January is shaping up to be a real eye-opener for me. Literally. I've got cataract surgery scheduled for both eyes. January 12th for the first one, and January 26th for the second. I've been waiting for this since mid-August, counting down the days until my world goes from blurry to crisp and clear, breathtaking view. It's exciting, a little nerve-wracking, and completely, utterly, undeniably medical. And that's not all, folks. I also have a fascinating relationship with my cholesterol and high blood pressure, which, thanks to the wonders of modern medicine and the right dosages, are currently behaving themselves. I'm also on medication for other health issues, both physical and emotional. Because, shocker, brains are organs too. Sometimes they need a little chemical nudge to stay in tip-top shape. Here's the kicker. Whether I believed in a higher power or not, whether I prayed to a God or not, all of these things would still happen. My cataracts wouldn't magically vanish. My cholesterol would not suddenly decide to be a team player. My blood pressure wouldn't drop just because I muttered some words into the ether. And my emotional health? Yeah, that would still require the professional guidance and prescriptions that actually work. The only difference, the real difference, is how I, as an atheist, process these distinctly human experiences compared to someone entrenched in a belief system, especially that of Christianity. So let's talk about the believers, specifically the Christians, because that's the spiritual landscape I know best, having spent many moons navigating its rocky terrain before finding my way to the sunny, logical plains of atheism. When a Christian faces a health crisis or a severe injury from, say, a car accident, a workshop mishap, or a particularly aggressive rogue Roomba, what's their first move? Prayer, of course. They pray to God to help them, to heal them, to see them through. And when, lo and behold, medical science, skilled surgeons, dedicated nurses, weeks of physical therapy, and precisely calibrated medications actually fix them, what do they say? Oh, thank God, He was there for me the whole time. He saw me through the healing process. He healed me. And I want to say, He healed you? Really? I mean, no offense to the Almighty, if He exists, which you know He doesn't. But last I checked, my cataract surgery is being performed by a highly trained human being with a steady hand and a laser, not by a celestial being with a magic wand. My blood pressure is managed by tiny pills formulated by scientists, not by divine intervention. And so is my cholesterol. It's almost comedic, isn't it? They'll lie in a hospital bed hooked up to an IV, recovering from a life-saving surgery, and credit the guy who apparently could have prevented the whole damn thing in the first place. Because if God was there for them the entire time and healed them, wouldn't it have been a more efficient use of his divine power to just stop the injury from happening in the first place? Like, oops, almost got T-boned, but God swerved the other car for me. Or, that ladder was about to slip, but an invisible hand steadied it. But, I say, no. Apparently, the preferred method is to let you suffer, get mangled, undergo painful procedures, and then take full credit for the recovery facilitated by mere mortals and scrubs. And if you dare to point out this logical inconsistency, what's the fallback? Ah, yes, the good old God's will. It was God's will that you suffer. Let that sink in for a moment. What a profoundly uncomforting, emotionally brutal thing to believe. So, your loving, all-powerful Creator willed you to endure excruciating pain, debilitating illness, or life-altering injury. Just for reasons? And then he willed talented doctors to patch you up so he could get the glory? It's like a cosmic game of Jenga, where God intentionally pulls out a block, watches the tower wobble, and then sends in a team of miniature architects to fix it, all while loudly proclaiming his own divine brilliance. And then there's the other layer of emotional quicksand, when their prayers aren't answered in a way they deem positive. When the illness persists, the injury doesn't fully heal, or, God forbid, the worst happens. What then? Oh, the self-blame, the guilt, the insidious whispers of inadequacy. I must not have had enough faith. I must have done something wrong in my life to displease God. God must be punishing me. The emotional weight of this is staggering. Imagine already dealing with the physical agony or the gut-wrenching grief of a loss, and then piling on the crushing burden that it's all your fault, that you weren't good enough for God to intervene, that your suffering is a sign of your spiritual failure. This, my friends, is the higher, unnecessary emotional trauma that comes with belief. It's a cruel feedback loop. Suffer, pray, hope, maybe get better, thanks to science. Then credit God. If you don't get better, blame yourself or invoke the chilling God's will. There's no win for the believer's psyche in this scenario. It creates a never-ending cycle of self-doubt, fear, and a distorted sense of personal responsibility for events entirely outside of their control. Okay, so now let's contrast that with the atheist experience. When I found out I needed cataract surgery, my first thought wasn't, oh God, why me? What have I done? It was, ugh, really? More waiting? And then I have to go under the knife? This is going to be an annoying couple of weeks. Keep in mind, I said I had to wait 5 months from the time I scheduled this, and I had been dealing with the cataracts for some time before. Waiting, and more waiting. Finally, January comes, and then an annoying couple of weeks in between getting each eye done. So, again, this was going to be an annoying couple of weeks by the time we ever hit January. And then I'd have to get myself a new prescription and glasses afterward. There was no internal audit of my moral failings, no desperate bargaining with an invisible sky daddy. There was just the pragmatic reality of a biological process happening to my eyes. When I deal with my cholesterol or blood pressure, it's not a spiritual battle. It's a medical management plan. It's checking my numbers, taking my pills, and appreciating the scientists who figured out how to keep my heart purring along. And when I deal with emotional issues, it's about therapy, self-reflection, good friends, and the right medication to create a healthy brain chemistry. It's not about confessing sins or praying for deliverance from demons. Yes, atheists still suffer from whatever they are going through. Make no mistake, I still experience stress around medical procedures. I still hate it when things go wrong physically or emotionally. I'm not some stoic, emotionless robot who floats through life unfazed. I'm human. I worry. I get frustrated. I feel pain. But here's the crucial difference. I don't blame myself for God's supposed inaction. I don't torture myself trying to figure out what cosmic trespass I committed to deserve this. I don't engage in theological gymnastics trying to understand why an all-powerful being would let bad things happen, or why he only heals through human hands. When I have an injury, like, say, if I were to trip over my own feet and sprain an ankle, a very real possibility, let's be honest, I wouldn't be thinking, was it God's will for me to suffer this minor humiliation and pain? No! I'd be thinking, ow, that sucks, I'm an idiot. Now I need ice, elevation, and probably a trip to the doctor to make sure I didn't actually break anything. And then I'd focus on the healing process, coping with the temporary inconvenience, and adapting my movements until I'm back to normal. There's a beautiful, albeit sometimes painful, simplicity to it. We just deal with it. We curse our bad luck, maybe the shoddy sidewalk, but never a divine entity. The causes of illness, injury, and emotional distress are the same for an atheist as they are for a Christian. Viruses don't check your prayer history before infecting you. Cars don't care about your denomination before colliding. Genes don't discriminate based on your belief system before expressing themselves. And here's the inconvenient truth that religious belief desperately tries to obscure. Whether you pray or you don't, the outcome will be the same. If you have a broken leg and pray for healing, but don't see a doctor, that leg isn't going to set itself properly. If you have cancer and pray for a miracle, but refuse chemotherapy, your chances aren't looking great. Conversely, if you have a broken leg, see a doctor, get a cast, and it heals, that's medical science doing its job, not God answering a prayer. If you have cancer, undergo treatment, and go into remission, that's medical intervention and your own body's resilience at work. The good outcome? It's often just coincidence, or, far more likely, the result of human ingenuity, dedication, and the relentless march of scientific progress. The bad outcome? It's not God's will. It's just the often unfortunate, sometimes tragic, reality of being alive in a universe that doesn't care about your feelings. We are all humans. We are all susceptible to the myriad issues pertaining to illnesses, diseases, injuries, and the delicate balance of our emotional well-being. This is a fundamental part of life on this planet. And the outcome to these things will be the same for the atheist as it will be for the most devout for the most devout believer. Prayer is not needed to change the trajectory of these events. Doctors are. Medicine is. Therapy is. Resilient human spirit is. But not prayer. So let me reiterate. There is less stress, less emotional baggage, and a far healthier psychological outlook as an atheist when these issues arise than there is when a God is involved. We still have much stress dealing with these issues. Trust me, thinking about going under the knife for my eyes is not exactly a spa day in my head. But we don't complicate it with cosmic blame games. We don't grapple with cognitive dissonance. We simply acknowledge that life happens. Sometimes it really sucks. And then we figure out the most effective, evidence-based way to deal with it. It's life. It's messy. It's beautiful. It's painful. And it doesn't need a deity to explain it or to fix it. Embracing that reality, for me, has been one of the most liberating aspects of leaving faith behind. The suffering is still there, yes, but the extra suffering, the guilt, the self-blame, the confusion, the feeling of being forsaken, the theological paradoxes, that's gone. And for that, I am profoundly grateful. So, my brilliant, rational audience, I want to hear from you. Those of you who have navigated both sides of this coin, as a believer and now as an atheist, ex-Christian, or skeptic. What are your thoughts? What are your experiences? Did you, like me, find that leaving behind the belief in God also shed layers of unnecessary emotional trauma when facing life's inevitable hardships? How has your approach to illness, injury, or emotional struggles changed? Share your stories in the comments below. And speaking of comments, we all know what happens when we talk about topics like this, don't we? Our posts become a magnet for some uninvited guests. You know the ones, the well-meaning or not so well-meaning Christians who will inevitably show up to proselytize, project their own anxieties, gaslight, criticize, and generally try to explain away why a belief in God is absolutely, unequivocally necessary for coping with life. So, to our Christian commenters, go ahead. Try to explain away why God is essential for my cataract surgery. Try to convince us that prayer is more effective than a doctor's scalpel. We'll be here, ready with our popcorn and our critical thinking skills. And rest assured, we'll keep the conversation going with or without your divine explanations. That's all for this episode, folks. Keep thinking critically, keep living authentically, and remember, you're doing great, and you're not alone in this beautiful, godless journey. See you next time. Again, this is Kim McPhail of the Kim McPhail Podcast. Thanks for watching. I look forward to the next time we talk. Bye.